Sky News seems entirely uninterested in unbiased reporting these days. It's obvious they're operating with a clear agenda, and their selective coverage makes it painfully evident. Take what's been unfolding this January regarding Keir Starmer and the grooming gang cover-up scandal. Absolute silence from Sky News. They've completely ignored a story of such importance, refusing to hold Starmer accountable. Instead, they've decided to focus their efforts on grilling Reform MP James Murdoch over events that happened 20 years ago. Can you believe it? While real issues affecting the public are swept under the rug, they're busy digging into a case of common assault for which Murdoch has already served his punishment. And let's not forget, Labour MPs caught on camera physically assaulting people seem to escape the same scrutiny. The double standards are impossible to ignore. In today's video, we'll dive into the recent Sky News interview with James Murdoch, breaking down their approach and what it reveals about their priorities. Alongside that, we'll cover some of the latest headlines making waves across the country. Before we get started, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel and join our fast-growing community. Just a quick one to say we do have t-shirts available on our website. We have stuck Farmer and Make Britain Great Again ones. Make sure you check the link in the description or go to britishstand.com. Now, back to the main point. Instead of focusing on Starmer's involvement in this shocking cover-up, the legacy media continues to target Murdoch, who has already faced the consequences for his actions from decades ago. Have a watch.
I asked him whether he regretted using that term. He says he doesn't apologise for using that specific term, and he said he hadn't lied or changed his story. Here's what he said.
I pled guilty to common assault, not ABH or anything more serious than that.
You described it as a teenage indiscretion, though. Do you think that's fair? Do you think that's fair to victims of domestic violence who may look on that?
I'll tell you a really interesting story about that. So when I was first talking about this in private with other people, I was really head down, really beating myself up about it. And someone else said, look, you were a kid, it was a teenage indiscretion. And I really, really appreciated them saying that. So when I put my statement out, I included that phrase.
But then why did you lie about it?
No. Please, let's be very, very clear.
You said you pushed her.
No.
The court document said you kicked her around four times.
Okay, shall we maybe consider about how we discuss this? Because like I've said, it is personal.
But do you accept what the court document said and you pleaded guilty to that?
I pled guilty.
So then why later did you change that story?
No, I haven't changed my story ever.
This is how people reacted. This user said, it was over years ago and he served his punishment. In employment law, this has to be classed as over and no longer a factor. The press need to stop this harassment. It's over. This user said, James has always accepted his guilt for this crime. He served his time, and he has never lied about it, when asked. It's interesting Sky News felt today was the day to broadcast this hit piece. I'm sure it wasn't any attempt at deflection of another story involving men and girls. This user said, this is the reason why Reform cannot say anything nice about Tommy Robinson. Pathetic journalists like this one will only focus on that. Reform 6, to be focused on winning the next GE. This user said, this is a grown married man with a family of his own, a man who committed a crime, served his sentence and is now nearly 20 years later an MP. Will the MSM stop at nothing when it comes to reform? He made a disgusting mistake. It's awful. He accepts it as awful. Alfie said, this is horrendous journalism. Why are you not reporting the Labour MP who beat up and battered an innocent man all on camera? It's funny how you're digging up things from 20 years ago but not so bothered with what's currently happening, Robbie said. A Labour MP has been dismissing the severity of grooming gangs in Britain. Councils have helped cover up the gang scandals. Yet, Sky News is asking James McMurdoch about a crime from 19 years ago which he already served time for. Sean said, well done for standing up for yourself. You did well. Don't stand for it. You paid your debt. You've acknowledged your mistakes. You've proved yourself over 2 decades. I stand with you 100%, Darren said. This is why Reform have to distance themselves from Tommy. MSM will dig at every bit of shit with anything to do with Reform and throw it out there, while on the other hand with Labour conceal, then try to throw a blanket over any number of far more serious allegations. What are your thoughts on this? Let me know in the comments. In other news, teenagers as young as 12 are being prescribed nicotine patches and gum on the NHS, with nearly 1,300 prescriptions issued to young people last year. The concerning figures emerge as doctors provide nicotine replacement therapy to help adolescents combat their cravings, despite many being too young to legally purchase tobacco products. Prescriptions are being issued against a backdrop of declining cigarette use among youth, but soaring rates of e-cigarette consumption. NHS prescriptions for nicotine patches can cost up to £25, whilst nicotine gum ranges from £2 to £10 per prescription, depending on quantity. The treatments are costing the health service thousands of pounds annually to help children overcome nicotine addiction. A typical nicotine patch treatment course lasts 10 weeks, whilst gum and lozenges are used for immediate craving relief, with patients limited to 15 pieces daily. In 2023, 246 prescriptions were issued specifically to under 16s, despite it being illegal to sell cigarettes or vapes to anyone under 18. Lee Fernandez, lead therapist at addiction specialist UCAT Group, warned that nicotine addiction in young children poses serious health risks. Children as young as 12 being addicted to nicotine is of real concern, as it can lead to developmental abnormalities, stunting their ability to learn and play, he said. Fernandez highlighted that early nicotine use has been linked to behavioral disorders and increased likelihood of substance misuse in adulthood. He called for more education in schools about smoking dangers, urging the government to take action. NHS figures reveal that just 2% of 11 to 15-year-olds are current smokers, though 11% have tried cigarettes at some point. However, e-cigarette use among young people shows a concerning trend, with 9% of pupils currently using vapes. The figures are particularly stark among 15-year-old girls, where vaping rates reach 22%. Professor Sanjay Agrawal, NHS England National Speciality Advisor for Tobacco Dependency, expressed alarm at underage smoking rates. We know that 200 to 300 young people each day experiment with or start smoking, and 1 in 2 adult long-term smokers will die from tobacco-related disease, he said. He voiced support for the proposed Tobacco and Vapes Bill, which will raise the age of sale for tobacco products. The NHS supports young people through licensed nicotine replacement therapies, helping hundreds of teenagers quit smoking annually. A government spokesman emphasised the administration's commitment to tackling youth nicotine addiction. This government is not prepared to stand by and allow a new generation of kids to get hooked on nicotine, the spokesman said. The landmark Tobacco and Vapes Bill aims to create the first smoke-free generation in Britain. The government will also implement a ban on single-use vapes from June, as part of what it describes as the biggest public health intervention in a generation. What are your thoughts on what we discussed in today's video? Let me know down in the comments section below. If you've not yet already, make sure you do drop a like on this video and subscribe to the channel for more British content. Thank you. Take care. Goodbye.